Welcome, everyone, to day 3 of Weight Stigma Awareness Week. And if you were with us earlier today, you saw Dr. Angela Mensa, who was wonderful and very vulnerable. And I thought that was a really great talk. And I'm extremely excited about this afternoon's panel. We are joined by Adrienne Ray, Donnelle Jageman, and Kenyetta Harris. And this trio makes up the people behind Philly FatCon. I'm going to just go through each of their bios quickly, and then we're going to start talking about Philly FatCon and learn a little bit more about each of these wonderful people and how you can get involved. So Adrienne Ray is a Temple University graduate, go Owls, so am I, and spent a decade in advertising as a copywriter before launching Curve Conscious in 2016. Her mission is to offer the plus-sized community unique shopping experiences, providing a safe and stylish space at reasonable prices. Recognized by Philly.com, Philly Mag, and 6ABC, her boutique is hailed as one of the best places to shop in the region. Donnelle Jageman holds degrees in environmental studies, German, psychology, and a master's in healthcare administration. She's dedicated to sustainable living, secondhand clothing, and community building. In 2021, she founded the Philly Plus Swap, the largest plus-size clothing swap in Greater Philadelphia. Beyond this, she hosts shopping parties and collaborative swaps, advocating for sustainability and reducing textile waste. Donnelle also works as a healthcare strategist, advertising leading healthcare systems. And finally, Kenyetta Harris, a Pennsylvania native, is the CEO of Curvy and Seductive, a plus-size lingerie brand established in 2020. With a background in promoting wellness and confidence for plus-size women, she also teaches a pole dance course designed for plus-size athletes. I wish I was in Philly. And beyond pole dance skills, her classes instill self-acceptance, body confidence, and personal sovereignty. As a board-certified physician assistant, specializing in psychiatry, Kenyetta leads patients towards stability and wholeness. She is also a board member of the Nava Center, a nonprofit providing low-cost therapy to trauma survivors. Together, this trio founded Philly FatCon in 2022, initiating plans for Philadelphia's inaugural fat-focused convention. So welcome all. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, of course. We've gotten to know each other just a tad over the last couple of weeks, and I'm so thrilled that you're here and feel really honored that you would come and speak to us about all the amazing work that you're doing. So I have some questions for you today, and I'm going to direct them to each of you. And we want to just start out. I gave an overview of who you are, what your interests are, and your businesses. And I'd love for you to introduce yourselves just a little bit more and talk to us about anything you think may be interesting to our attendees. Adrienne, would you like to start?
Sure. Hit me with your best shot, Shavis. What you got?
Tell us about you. What's interesting, and what's interesting about Philly FatCon and you and your part in Philly FatCon?
Sure. So, hello, everybody. I am one of the co-founders of Philly FatCon. What I think is important about Philly FatCon is that it is a first of its kind convention in this area. Yes, there have been other sort of get-togethers and things like that for larger size folks in the city throughout the decades. But we're having a real multi-day convention with expert panelists, with vendors and shop opportunities to support small businesses alongside the third annual Philly Plus Swap. And so I think bringing all of those things together is a sort of incredible gift that we are bestowing upon the city. So we're really super excited. We have been busting our butts for about 10 months planning this, organizing this, and now we are down to almost a month left. And so we are getting to the to the end here. So we're really super excited. In terms of my part, I have owned Curve Conscious for over 7 years now. Curve Conscious is a secondhand resale store, again, first of its kind in Philadelphia, to have a plus size exclusive resale store. And when I came up with the idea to start Curve Conscious, it was based on a need. As someone who identifies as a small fat, meaning I have been between sizes 14 to 18. When I would go secondhand shopping at thrift stores and resale stores in the city, I was finding that it was even hard to find sizes 14, extra large, and 1X. And so I knew if I can not find my sizes in these shops, then even larger size folks were definitely struggling with finding things secondhand. And I just thought this is such a huge gaping hole and such a need that I decided to start Curve Conscious in 2015. And then I did all my due diligence and all my planning and things like that. And I opened up in 2016. And what I think sort of astonished me was that it became much more than just a store, as most small businesses are. But it was also a teachable moment for a lot of the community, because a lot of folks, at least within the city, hadn't experienced doing resale, right? Larger size folks didn't have a ton of experience selling their clothes for cash or store credit and being able to shop in a store that had their sizes. So I was having to teach a lot of people about how this process worked. Sort of guiding people on the types of clothes that I would accept and buy. Like, I'm not just going to take anything. There's, certain standards and things that have to be met. And so I spent a lot of that early first 1 to 2 years just sort of building up, a really good customer base, and folks that, would sell again and again. I think I see a couple people who have been customers of mine in the chat. So I'm glad to see you guys today. But yeah, so it was, I took on more than what I thought, because I knew that there hadn't been this thing. And then it was like, I am this thing. And now I have to create and build this thing and sustain this thing. And of course, it's been super tough with the pandemic, as a lot of small businesses have, had to close and things like that. I unfortunately had to close my store then in 2021 and then went virtual. And then last year, after and I have been involved with the swaps from the beginning. Donnelle and I have been friends since 2016. She was a customer at my store and was determined to be friends with me. And
Adrienne, stop taking my answer to
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut in on her answer, but she started the swap and wanted to have some vendors there, and of course asked me, and I was super excited. So I have been, doing the swap with Donnelle for these past 3 years, and I'll be a vendor again at the swap this year. But after last year's swap, which was much larger than the first year, we were kind of looking around towards the end there, and I went over to Kenyetta and I was like, girl, like, we have to blow this up. This needs to be bigger. This needs to be a full weekend event. I mean, we're watching people just have the time of their lives, like finding clothes and interacting with each other, making new friends, and people having things that they connect on. They connect on sustainability and swapping and secondhand and things like that. So again, that community building aspect of it was what I saw with my own eyes. And I was like, we have to do something bigger. And so here we are.
I'm so jealous. I'm I was born and raised around Philadelphia, and I miss it. And there's nothing in my area like that. So I really am jealous, and I admire what you're doing. Donnelle, do you want to tell your side of the story?
Sure. We gotta cut Adrienne off next time. Like Adrienne said, I moved to Philadelphia in 2016 for a consulting gig, right? And I have never worked in like the fashion space or in event planning formally or in fat liberation or any of this. But when I moved to 2016, I saw Adrienne's shop had opened. I immediately went, like she said, I was relentless. I was like, I'm going to be friends with this girl. I'm just going to keep coming. I would like come once a week, probably at times. I would show up when she posted an outfit and be like, I want that outfit right now. And it felt really good to like have a space where all the clothes were for you. And at the same time, over the next couple of years, I joined an Instagram community called Sell Trade Plus. And it's essentially a online Instagram consignment store where you submit your clothes and people can buy them from the post. And in the process of getting to know people in that community and in like threads and chats, people started talking about wanting to have a swap. And this was like early 2021, maybe. Most people are like coming out of complete isolation during the pandemic. And I said, okay, if you guys want in, send me a message and I will create a chat. And I thought it was going to be like, I don't know, 12 people in somebody's house. And the first plus swap ended up being, I think, 78 people. We sold out of tickets. Adrienne and I were like, I was like, I don't know, Adrienne, should I open more tickets? She was kind of my sounding board. And we squeezed as many people possible into the barn at Bartram's Garden, which if you've ever been in is not a glamorous space.
No.
And Adrienne was there. Yeah, and had, donated so many clothes to like get us started. And another local Philly brand, Lobo Mal, came to sell. We had a local coffee cart there. And it was just this amazing sense of community building, but like between people who had never met or had only met on the internet. Like so many people there were like, oh, I know you from Instagram. Oh, I know you because you work at Alice Alexander, or oh, it's Adrienne. I like, have missed being in her shop and throughout the pandemic. And so the following year, slowly adding more vendors and kind of amenities we've added like our mending table now. But the second year we sold even more tickets. So then you have 100 people. And this year we're on track to have, at least at the Plus Swap, a dozen size inclusive vendors that are secondhand, vintage, new, local, near and far. And that's before I planned the second swap is when I met Kenyetta. And that was kind of serendipitous because I'll let her tell her part of it. And then all three of us met. And I was like, well, you have to come, Kenyetta, you have to bring your lingerie to the swap. And then that's where Adrienne's part picks up, where we're all at the swap. And it was like so magical in this room. And you're like, we could do this bigger. Mm-hmm. And that's like really when we're like, okay, well, November 2022, let's meet at my house and start planning this, right? So we'll let Kenyetta kind of explain how we wrapped her into this, gave her no choice in participating.
I was held against will.
Just invited her.
I love it. Kenyetta, tell us, please.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, it was serendipitous. How I met Adrienne was actually at the mall. Adrienne was having a pop-up for Curve Conscious at the mall, selling her awesome goods there. And I came through. Yeah.
At Willow Grove.
At Willow Grove Mall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
at Willow Grove. And I
Yeah.
came through and I'm like, oh, well, what's this? Is this pop-up going on? And when I found out it was Curve Conscious, which is something I've known of before, I've even gone to her brick and mortar. And so I started shopping, and that's when I got a chance to know Adrienne face to face and really get a chance to speak with her. From that, I went to another event where Donnelle and Adrienne were both at, and that's how, yes, and that's how I got kind of roped into the plus size.
So Adrienne had shared a happy hour that this is like why I think we have to not diminish the actual value of social media. No matter, it is so frustrating sometimes, right? But like, Kenyetta had tried to go to Adrienne's closed brick and mortar the day before she saw her at the mall.
Yes, I forgot that part. There's a couple of levels.
That is the most important part.
That's the most important part. She goes, she's in Brewery Town. She's like, oh, let me stop at Curve Conscious. It's closed, brokenhearted. Goes to the Willow Grove Mall the next day, and Adrienne's like tracking her down, like, I see a thick lady in the hall. Let me get her.
She was stomping through there. She was gorgeous. She had on this bright green, wasn't it bright green dress?
Yeah, I had a bright green dress on. I came through and I'm like, what is wrong with this? And there we go, Curve Conscious.
So then I was planning a happy hour for women through an organization called Philly Women Roundtable that I serve on. And Adrienne, so generously as my friend, always like shares my stuff and shares the happy hour post. And then Kenyetta sees it, she comes, and then we all met there, right? And she's like, Kenyetta walks up, she's like, hi, is Adrienne here? And I was like, why are you looking for Adrienne?
Yeah, just like that.
Oh, I was running late.
No, it wasn't like that. But it was very neat, like how social media, our like passion projects, our businesses kind of all brought us into this. And then that's when, we didn't give Kenyetta the choice, and we just
it was a nice, this was part of one of the only things in life that I don't regret not giving the choice.
That's
Curvy and Seductive has been around since 2020, and the mission has been to bring forth sexiness, not just body positivity, but to highlight that you can be confident in your body, how your body shows up in the world, and you can be attractive and sexy in that body too. And I think that mission with Curvy and Seductive has pretty much been evident, even in how the different types of lingerie that we have. It's not your grandma's lingerie. It's not your mom's lingerie.
That's a really good thing.
Yeah,
right.
And so that's my aspect, bringing into Philly FatCon, bringing in that body confidence when it comes to the workshops that we offer, our costume party and different elements of that we're going to offer with burlesque dancing.
I love it.
So here we are.
It's great. It's great. We had a woman, a good friend of the community, Dawn Sarah, who spoke yesterday on sex and pleasure in fat bodies. And so, perfect combination. I suggest everybody go and listen to that, and then go buy some stuff from Kenyetta. So I'm going to stay with you, Kenyetta, and ask you, how'd you get involved in the fat community in the first place?
Well, I have been a thick girl my entire life. Even as a child, when I look back at pictures of myself, I've been in a larger body throughout my entire life, not just my adult life or as a teenager. It's been my whole life living this type of experience. So by default, I came into this world, into the fat community. But when it comes to how I kind of came into being in this body, but also promoting sexiness and sensuality while being in a fat body, was back in 2016 when I started pole dancing here in Philly. I always thought it was cool. I just always thought it was such a cool way to express, to dance and to move your body. And so when I finally moved here, I was like, I'm going to take a pole class. And I did that, and the rest has been history. I've been doing pole since 2016, teaching it to plus size athletes since 2019. And so yet again, I'm in this space of being in this body and welcoming others who also have that plus size experience to say, hey, you can do this too. Yeah. You can dance, you can do pole dancing, you can give this a try. This can be a sport for you to try. even with your body type. So
yeah. And how did you feel going into those classes when you first went? Because I think, most of we fat folks are like,
Yeah.
and I know it varies from place to place, but I'm just wondering what your experience was.
Yeah, that's a great question because I think even though I've always been in this larger body and I know what society thinks of plus size people, I don't think I really ever internalized that myself. I think that's why I can do things like curvy and seductive and promote these things, because I don't, that's how they feel, not how I feel. And so even being in those spaces, I really didn't think too much of it. But it is evident that at those times, I was the only plus size person in a pole class. There really wasn't anyone else who had my kind of body. And so I didn't feel too much about it, but I did recognize that, hey, I'm the only one like me here, but I'm going to be here anyway.
Yeah, I love that. I love that spirit. So many of us have internalized all of that junk, and so it takes a little bit more to get through it, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Adrienne, how about you? How'd you get involved in the fat community?
I think that by starting Curve Conscious, that brought in, tons of new fat friends into my life. I know one of the common themes that fat folks have, especially online, is like, do you have any fat friends? And I've been someone who, again, identifies as a small fat, who has had people in my life, friends and family who are plus size. And, I've always admired the way that they move in the world, sort of like Kenyetta. It's like, I'm here, I'm taking up space and deal with it, So meeting more people, I mean, certainly, again, having a storefront and running a small business, you also become a therapist, you become a standby best friend when someone needs to run into the store after a hard week and just unleash their entire, stress onto you. Like, you're there for that. So I've heard lots of stories. I've seen lots of emotions, people being happy that I existed, happy that they were able to find, anything that they needed. I mean, I would have people coming in at the last minute. I need a dress for a funeral. I need a dress for a wedding. I need a dress for my birthday, stuff like that. And just being able to help people find that has been just one of the greatest gifts. I would say that when I did start the store, I didn't necessarily always identify with sort of like these groups of maybe like body liberation folks or fat liberation folks or body positivity. I am personally someone who's a skeptic about group thought and things like that. So it takes me a while to sort of digest things because I want to make sure that things are intersectional. I am a Black queer woman. And so if you can't hold space for my Blackness or my queerness, then I don't want it. And so a lot of these things, and I don't know if you have been talking about this during the week or not, but certainly the intersectionality of fatness, Blackness, and queerness is powerful, but also the most marginalized. So if I don't see space for me, then I don't trust it. And a lot of body positivity, as it has become, has sort of taken that away from Black women, from fat women, and from queer women who started that movement. And so I'm someone who can sort of see the landscape and like what's happening here, and I'm not comfortable with that, so I won't identify as that. So certainly learning over the course of this last nearly decade has been transformative for me. I think that I have a better understanding of where people who are fat liberationists, where they stand on it. But I think I'm getting there, right? I'm still learning, but I'm still very much like, I'm keeping an eye out just in case. Because again, as someone who's been a business owner, I've certainly have dealt with racist people. Not everyone fat is your friend. And I've learned that certainly the hard way, especially being a business owner. You know, you deal with people who want to use you for your space or your time or your energy or, you know, just your creativity. And I've dealt with a lot of that. And so, you know, having Kenyetta and Donnelle to work with on this Philly FatCon project has been a huge blessing because they're friends. And we have talked about, bless you, Donnelle. We've talked about the collaboration over competition. And Philly FatCon is that. That is our mission. Our mission is to be collaborative and not to compete with each other, because if we have each other, we know that we can all do well. And what we want to do is, A, have people understand that, but B, is bring more people in. You know, we want to hear from other people, hear about their experiences. I think, you know, even putting together this convention has taught us a lot about accessibility, about, you know, empathy, and learning from other people and listening to other people. And so I think that has been a huge help for us three. And I definitely think that, you know, we've gotten closer. As tough as this has been, we certainly have gotten closer. And now I have more fat friends. And so that is, I'm going to go on mute because I'm about to cry. But
I know I'm ready to shed a tear too. It's so lovely. It really is. And I'm so glad you brought, you know, I understand your skepticism and, you know, being a part of the fat liberation community, as a, you know, very white woman, in this community who's cis and straight, and, you know, like I've had so much to learn. And I always thought I was like this social justice warrior, and you know, just had so much more to learn and still do. And so I can totally respect and get why you feel that way. And it's probably the healthy way to be, honestly. So yeah. Donnelle, do you want to talk a little bit about how you got involved in the fat community?
Yeah, I think we got a good start on that, because it really was through fashion. I am a corporate girly and have been for my entire career. And I work in a very conservative industry when it comes to your like personal presentation. Healthcare and hospital administration are dominated by just like a very usually older white men. And although there are a lot of women in the industry because of women's presence as clinicians, right? But on the administration side, it tends to be very conservative. And the last thing I ever wanted anybody to notice about me was that I looked different than anybody else. And, you know, that's something that I never was self-conscious about. I just didn't want it to be my defining feature. I didn't want to walk into a room and have the outfit on that didn't match the other outfits, right? And be like the young female person who's also fat, who has crazy curly hair and wears big glasses and, you know, have on the wrong clothes. And so I was continually seeking out, you know, different brands, different clothing. And then, you know, I have a background in environmental studies. That's what I went to school for. And even though I don't work in that space, like almost everything I do in my life has that thread through it. And so you're looking for clothing, and then you're so frustrated that everything's so cheaply made, and we have so few choices as fat people. I can't walk into a store and buy a suit. I can't. There is nowhere that I can walk into a store and buy a suit in my size. But you know, like my partner who is, you know, like also a bigger person, but by men's standard, probably not considered fat, right? Like I could put his jacket on, but it's a men's jacket. But it's like, why is that size available in men's and not women's? And that's just like and he can walk in a men's warehouse and try on thousands of suits essentially, right? And so that is where I really like just kept digging into this, like plus size fashion. Where can I get these clothes? Where can I buy a suit? When I first bought my first suit, I still have in a closet behind me, although it doesn't fit me anymore. I bought it from Eloquy, and it was like one of the only affordable options. I was a graduate student, right? And so just my interest in fashion has really and just wanting to be able to dress, not even like this overwhelming. I'm not like a very fashionable person, but that just wanting to be able to dress appropriately for the occasion has led me down these rabbit holes. And then just having a passion too for sustainability and like, let's try to keep these textiles out of landfills has really pushed me into these communities too. And especially like the slow fashion, sustainable fashion community, there are a lot of especially plus size women who are very interested in those kinds of clothing. And if you thought your options were limited for fast fashion, imagine what they are if you actually care about where your clothes are made.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's really what, drove me to start the swap, like the plus swap, and spend, like my free time doing this. I think that's a very unique part of our trio here, is that this is a passion project for everyone, right? We all have our own careers, right? And do other things outside of this. We didn't get in this to like become millionaires.
Yeah.
So that has definitely been an interesting part of planning the event too.
My experience in working with the fat community is no one becomes a millionaire, and yet, speaking about clothing, sustainable clothing, and, I was having a conversation with someone last night, and I said, there are people out there, that fat people all along the spectrum of wealth, from not having any money to having a lot of money. And it's, there are, I mean, I can't afford to buy high fashion type of clothing. I would love to, because I love fashion too. But it's amazing to me when half of the population is considered fat, that we don't have as many choices. And it just goes back to it's the clothing, the people that make the clothing and the retailers just don't know how to do this yet. Like they haven't made a concerted effort to do it yet. There's money to be made, and
I think that, we recognize that, at least, and I say we, but I just mean the plus swap. And then obviously my co-founders here of FatCon. But when I was, crafting the principles behind the plus swap, one of our guiding principles and standards is that we believe everyone deserves to wear quality clothing that fits their body. And that's why we also spend a lot of time sorting out bad clothing that comes to us. Because just because you're fat and poor doesn't mean you need to wear stained or ripped clothing, or that you deserve to, right? And I will say that folks in this space are so generous. Every year that I have hosted the swap, including this year, and people have donated both tickets for the swap and the convention this year, people who do have that ability and are part of, and I just recognize names and stuff, and are part of like the slow fashion sustainable community, are so generous and have gifted dozens of tickets at this point across 3 years for other people to come to the swap so that they can have clothing to wear.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really great. It's a great community, it sounds like. So Adrienne, what is your vision for FatCon? obviously seeking to build community. But what else do you want to make change in certain areas? What else are you trying to accomplish?
Um, I hope that Philly FatCon will be remembered by those who attend as, a very special, fun, fulfilling weekend. Because the reason why we're doing this is because we want to celebrate folks that live in larger bodies. I think fat phobia is probably one of the last frontiers that still needs to be dealt with in terms of people's rights and abilities. I mean, you're talking about, again, a group of marginalized people who in society it's still okay to make fun of, right? We've gone through civil rights where there are laws in place in terms of not being able to harm or do harm, or even employees have to have, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think for fat folks, that is still um, up for grabs. I mean, we're still fighting for equal rights for fat people. And so this weekend, we want people to not have to worry about that. Everything at FatCon will be for fat people. We're having on our Saturday, we're having a marketplace full of 36 vendors that are fat friendly, fat owned businesses. And we'll have, over a dozen clothing vendors. So much to what Donnelle was talking about, like, and again, we're supporting these small businesses by having them come, by having, all of our attendees there able to shop in person. You're able to try on clothes in person. And this is something that, if you think about, is just horrific that that's not available to half the population, right? There's almost nowhere that a fat person can go in person and shop in for clothes in person. It just does not exist. And there was a moment, maybe 5 years ago, where there were a lot of stores. There were Eloquii stores. Old Navy was having their plus sizes in stores, et cetera, et cetera. And they almost, Loft had an amazing plus size line. I mean, like Donnelle was saying, like Loft was like one of my go-tos for work clothes.
Mm-hmm.
They had plus size clothes in stores. All of those corporations have discontinued their plus sizes in store or altogether. And that is just like horrific to me. And even again, as a small business owner who had to close her store because of the pandemic, essentially, I'm saddened to not have a store where people can come to anymore. But Philly FatCon weekend, there's guaranteed to be something for everyone. Of course, fat people are not a monolith. Not everybody's going to like everything, but there should be something there for you that you like, whether it's clothing, crafts, jewelry, art. We're going to have it all. So, I think my overall thing is that I just want people to just have a really good time, know that we're celebrating them. We're doing this for the community, for people to connect, make friends. We're coming out of a very long pandemic, where, again, people have been isolated, people have been sick, and we want people to come together again. Come safely. If you feel comfortable wearing a mask, please wear a mask. Please be vaccinated. Please test before you come. And we'll have all those safety protocol. That's part of our COVID-19 policy. But we want people to be together again, because, as human beings, like, it's natural for us to have herds and community. And that's what gives us joy and gives us strength and life, and, wants us to continue the fight, because this is a big fight that we have coming up for fat liberation, for fat rights. There's work to be done, and not everybody is, on that ship, and that's fine. But know that the ship has to sail, and that we're doing it for you. So we need that energy from the community to, keep us carrying it on. So I look forward to, and I also look forward to just seeing people in person again, and meeting new people.
I agree. I'm coming with three friends, and we have a Airbnb near Temple, and we're gonna party all weekend. So
yes, I love that. Girls trip. I love it. Yes.
that's right. That's right. So Kenyetta, what is the experience of planning this been like? Were there any hurdles? But I can guess y'all had fun. Lots of laughing. But having planned big events, I know that there's stuff, you know. So what's it been like?
The biggest hurdle would be the fact that this is there's no blueprint for this. This is the first of its kind event. There's really nothing we can look at and say, okay, well, this is what they did, so let's kind of mimic what we're doing off of that. This is all coming from three minds and really being pushed out into the world as we see it, not as we're seeing it through anybody else. So that's really difficult to do. Anybody in the chat who's an entrepreneur, you can totally identify with this, where there's no blueprint. There really is no one to hold your hand with this. We really kind of had to go off of, me and Donnelle's experience with going to conventions with our careers and kind of looking at things from that lens, and also considering what we want to see from something like this if we were an attendee. And so that's the biggest hurdle with it, is that this is revolutionary, the first of its kind, and we had to make it what we want it to be.
Yeah.
But absolutely, there has been a lot of laughs. We meet once a month. We talk every day. There's a group chat that we talk every day.
I can imagine
thousands of messages.
Group chat is lit every single day. But we have monthly meetings where we get around the kitchen table of either of our home, depending on what month it is. We kind of rotate homes each month. We order lunch or breakfast or whatever it is, and we get down to business, and we try our best to have a good time, put some tunes on in the background.
That's great.
We go through the item list and check things off as we go along. So yeah.
That's great. I'm so excited. I can't wait. So Jasmine in the chat is saying this is an all-star panel, and I can tell it must be one of your fans.
That's my friend.
Jasmine is so sweet.
And Scout Silverstein, who I know really well, says as a follower on IG, your hard work is very evident. So you've got some definite fans here, and then there's some comments. If anyone has any questions for the group, please put them in the chat and let us know. And we're also going to have this chat will be up and on our site for over the next month until Philly FatCon actually happens. Not FatCon, so used to .com. But and it'll be there afterwards, and I hope this is a yearly thing. I really hope. Maryland, I'm only 2 hours away, so always glad to be there and support y'all any way we can. Let's see, we have a new message. Okay, just giving us a warming bell. So anything else that any of you want to share with the community and let them know about the event and what they can expect? I'm assuming all the vendors will have credit card machines, be able to take credit cards. There'll be great food, I'm sure. It's Philadelphia.
I'll jump in really quick.
Okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that the Philly FatCon is going to be October 28th and 29th. Tickets are still available on the website. We are having a welcome party from our Infinity sponsor, Algo, the Algo app. And that's going to be Friday evening. So folks that have tickets are welcome to come. And that's for people mainly coming from out of town who just kind of need something to do, somewhere to hang out. But also you have an opportunity to meet attendees ahead of time. So you can form, if you're coming by yourself, you can find a buddy that you want to hang out with for the weekend. So we really encourage people to come out to the Friday welcome party to do like a meet and greet, meet attendees, meet us in person, and meet our sponsor. If you have questions, that's a great time to ask questions. We have a Discord for ticket holders as well, where we're answering questions about how to get around the city, where to stay, announcing things like about the welcome party, etc. So if you do purchase a ticket, you are sent a link to join our Discord. And we've got lots of people in there. And again, we have a full weekend of events planned. Saturday is an all day from 10 to 4, the convention. We have 5 movement classes, and then we have 2 speakers and 3 panels. Those 2 tracks will run simultaneously. So the classes and the speaking events will run simultaneously. And then again, we have this huge marketplace on Saturday, there'll be 3 dozen vendors there. That's incredible, an incredible amount of small businesses that need our support. And then on Sunday, the swap is from 10 to 2. And we'll also have about 12 vendors at the swap that you can shop and support as well. So yeah, we jam-packed it in. And of course, Saturday night is our costume party, and that is going to be at Fat Lady Brewing in Manayunk. And we are
for ticket holders again.
Huh?
It's also for ticket holders, not an.
That's for ticket holders as well. Yeah. So that is going to be a costume party. So we're going to have a costume party contest where we're having like best overall costume, best couples, and then best group. So Shabiz, if you and your girlfriends are planning to come to the party,
you go.
Get a group costume together so you can enter into that competition. We will have prizes for the winners. And then we're also having 3 fabulous performances by local burlesque performers, along with a musical guest, El Baez, who will be singing 2 of her 2 new hit singles. And so the party's going to be lit as well. We're really going to have a great time the whole weekend. And again, we just encourage, especially if people are on the fence because they're, thinking about coming by themselves. Listen, we have it all set up for you to make friends, or at least to be comfortable. Not everybody wants to make friends, and that's fine. Yeah. But, if you want to be by yourself, we'll let you be by yourself and manage things on your own. If you want to find friends, get your ticket, join the Discord, come to the welcome party. We're making every opportunity available for people to be comfortable, to be safe. We have done a lot of work in making sure that the spaces that we have are accessible, that they're ADA approved. Again, the convention and the swap are going to be held at Temple University. We just went a couple days ago to do an in-person, and check it out. And it's really amazing. We did a whole walkthrough to make sure that, we understood the level of comfort, or the level, what kind of walking is involved. Stairs are involved, elevators are involved. We did a complete walkthrough, and I think that we picked a perfect place, a perfect location for our first Philly FatCon. And so, yeah, we have thought of literally everything.
I hope so at this point.
Yeah, we have thought of everything. Donnelle just posted in the comment, like, all of the information about parking, wayfinding, accessibility, our COVID-19 is on our website.
That's great.
And if there's anything that we are missing, if you guys are looking at the website and you think that we are missing anything, please reach out to us. Follow us on Instagram at Philly FatCon. And you can email us at info@phillyfatcon.com if we are missing anything. So we still got about 30 something days left. So definitely jump in those DMs if you're thinking, we're missing something.
Yeah.
Great.
I think, in closing, I would just encourage everyone to be collaborative in their lives, in your participation in this kind of event. If your friends are vending at this event, if a business that you really like is going to be there, if your friend is performing, if you're a fan of one of our performers, our host, our DJ, if you just really like Fat Lady Brewing, please come. Like, we have worked so hard to work with businesses that are local to Philadelphia, small owned businesses, businesses that are owned by fat people, businesses that are owned by members of the queer community, people of color. And we have taken all of this into consideration because we don't want it to just be about the guests, but we want it to be about creating relationships with other people.
Yep.
And that's like, I think we just are trying to live that in ourselves. Like, we're all from like different backgrounds. We just came to meet each other through our activism. So I hope that through this event and our hard work, you can see how valuable this kind of thing is. And there can't be a community unless you participate in it. So if you want to benefit from these things, you have to show up for the people that are trying to do them. And that's these small businesses, the performers,
Yep.
the speakers and panelists that we have. So we just really appreciate being included in Weight Stigma Awareness Week as well. And we hope that we'll see you all again soon and that you'll say hi to us. We're going to be running around like crazy, I'm sure, but please, anybody that recognizes us, stop us and say hello.
Yay. I will be grabbing each of you for a hug if you're open to that. And
Yes.
I cannot wait. And for all my friends in New York and Maryland and Delaware, all the surrounding states, Philly's a great town. So, get an Airbnb, get a hotel, shack up with some friends or family and make it a weekend. I just know we're going to have a ton of fun. So thank you all so much. I really appreciate you coming here and sharing during Weight Stigma Awareness Week. We're all on the same page and we're trying to do the same work. And I'm really grateful to all of you for this.
Thank you,
Thanks
Shaviz.
for having us.
Yes.
Of
Thank you
course.
for inviting us.
And we'll see you soon. I look forward to meeting you and hugging you in person as well. Yes.
Yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait. Thanks, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Enjoy the rest of your
Bye-bye.
week. Thanks, everyone.
You too.